Nobody in that stadium saw this coming. Elena Ruse called for a racket inspection in the middle of a match against Alex Eala, and the crowd at the Cincinnati Open just froze. A frustrated opponent, a bizarre mid-match request, a lightning delay, and a Filipina who simply would not be rattled. By the time it was over, fans were still trying to process what they'd just watched. Let's set the scene. Ruse walked into Tony Trabert Stadium 3 riding high. She'd just steamrolled Magda Linette 6-0, 6-3 in the first round. This is a player who once cracked the top 51 in the world and picked up a WTA title in Hamburg back in 2021. She wasn't some easy out. But against Eala, none of that mattered. Nothing she tried was working, and somewhere in the middle of getting outplayed, Ruse did something almost nobody does at this level. She asked officials to inspect Eala's racket. At a $7.4 million WTA 1000 event, that's not a small thing. It's the kind of move that screams, "I'm out of answers." Was something strung wrong? Was there an equipment issue nobody else had noticed? The whispers spread through the crowd while officials walked over to check. And then, nothing. The racket was completely legal. Ruse had nowhere left to hide. Here's the thing, though. Eala had been dominant from almost the very first point. She actually dropped serve in Game 1, and it looked for a second like maybe Ruse had a shot. Then Eala flipped a switch. 5 straight games later, she had the first set locked up 6-1, breaking Ruse 3 separate times. She carried that momentum into the second set and jumped out to a 3-0 lead before anyone could blink. The stat line tells the real story. Eala piled up 9 winners to Ruse's 7, while forcing 11 unforced errors out of her opponent. On Ruse's own first serve, Eala was winning 71% of the points. On the second serve, even more brutal, 78%. Compare that to how Ruse's serve was actually performing. Only 11 of 29 first serves landed in, and she won just 45% of those points. Her second serve was even worse, converting a measly 18%. This wasn't a close match. This was a demolition happening in real time. Somewhere in there, Ruse called for a medical timeout to get her foot strapped up, and that was before the skies even opened up. Then came the lightning delay, thunderstorms rolling over the Lindner Family Tennis Center, forcing a pause in play. For a second, it looked like fate might throw Ruse a lifeline, a chance to regroup and come back swinging. Instead, almost the moment play was set to resume, she told officials she couldn't continue. Just like that, Eala had her revenge, a walkover, but a statement all the same. And revenge is exactly the right word here. Back in 2024, Ruse had actually beaten Eala in US Open qualifying, a heartbreaking 3-set battle that cost a then-teenage Eala her shot at a Grand Slam main draw. It was the third time that year alone that Eala had fallen right at the final hurdle of qualifying. 2 years later, in Cincinnati, the script flipped completely. So what actually broke Ruse down so badly that she'd request a racket check out of sheer desperation? A lot of people are pointing to the exact part of Eala's game that critics have mocked for years, her serve. For a long time, tennis legends weren't shy about picking it apart. Martina Navratilova once called it too soft, basically a puffball. Rick Mackey, who coached Serena Williams, said it looked fundamentally mistaught. But somewhere along the way, that supposed weakness turned into one of the most unpredictable shots on tour. Commentators calling the Ruse match kept circling back to the spin. On faster courts especially, the ball just twists and dips in ways that are genuinely hard to time. It doesn't look fast on a broadcast screen, but players on the other side of the net describe it completely differently. Right after one commentator pointed this out live, Ruse dumped a return straight into the net off one of those very serves. Eala's fans back home have their own name for it now, an affectionate, slightly cheeky nickname that's become a running joke across Filipino tennis Twitter. It's turned into a full-blown bit. A serve that used to be a punchline is now something fans celebrate, and even international broadcasters have started picking up on the nickname during coverage. Eala herself seems to enjoy the joke as much as anyone. She's also been pretty candid about why the serve works despite the criticism. It's not about power, she said. It's about variety, about not depending on any single weapon. She wants opponents guessing. That approach has paid off against far bigger names than Ruse. Just last month in Washington, she beat Naomi Osaka in straight sets, winning 9 of 10 points behind her second serve at one stretch of that match. Osaka reportedly couldn't settle on where to even stand. Eala has also taken down Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon and beaten Jessica Pegula for a title in DC. Being left-handed only adds another layer of difficulty for opponents trying to read her patterns. Zoom out, and this Cincinnati win means more than one scoreline. It's part of a longer stretch where Eala has now beaten 7 different players who had previously gotten the better of her, a genuine revenge tour, one match at a time. And it's happening while she's climbing the rankings fast, now sitting at a career high inside the top 20, with almost no points to defend the rest of the season. Every win from here just pushes her higher. Then there's the crowd factor, something stats can't fully capture. That stadium in Cincinnati wasn't just full. It was wrapped in Philippine flags, packed with fans who'll stay up until absurd hours back home just to watch her play live. That's not something tied to a ranking number or a trophy count. That's a nation of over 100 million people rallying behind one player, match after match. Up next for Eala, world number 10 Amanda Anisimova in the round of 32, a first-ever meeting between the two. Tennis is watching closely now, wondering how far this run can actually go. So here's the real question worth sitting with. Was that racket inspection a legitimate concern from a frustrated competitor, or pure desperation from someone who'd simply run out of answers? Drop your take in the comments. And if this kind of story pulls you in, stick around, because the Eala effect is only getting started.